Welcome to CompuScholar's Professional Development webinar for October 2021. Today we're going to talk about exporting your CompuScholar grades into your student information system. My name is Chris Hust. I'm the president of CompuScholar. I spent a couple of decades as a software engineer before joining CompuScholar, and I've now spent 10 years writing curriculum in the CTE IT space. So you're always welcome to send me questions and comments to chris.hust@compuscholar.com. So as you know, when you're using CompuScholar's online system, you have a CompuScholar Gradebook, and what we're trying to do today is explain an easier way to get those grades out of your CompuScholar Gradebook and into your student information system. So naturally, you can always transcribe them manually one by one, but you'd rather do some sort of import-export process that makes things a little bit easier. So big picture, the steps involved include a one-time setup step, and what we want to do there is get your student information system student ID numbers into your CompuScholar student profiles. So once you complete that one-time setup, you can then, on any sort of regular basis, like weekly or monthly or however often you need to, you can export your CompuScholar grades to a spreadsheet, and that spreadsheet will contain those student information system numbers that you entered into the student profiles. And from there, you can manipulate that spreadsheet and import it into your student information system. Now, naturally, if you are self-hosting your courses in Canvas or Schoology or some other LMS, then this whole process does not apply. Your grades are naturally kept in your LMS and not in our system, so no transfer is needed. Your district will likely have an easy pattern for you to transfer your grades out of your LMS into your student information system. All right, so that first one-time setup step involves adding the student SIS ID numbers into your CompuScholar profiles. So just as background, most systems will assign some sort of unique ID to a student, and that student ID is usually important when you want to import grades into a system and match the grades to the correct student profile. So what we're going to do is add those SIS student IDs to your CompuScholar student profiles, and therefore the student IDs will be part of the gradebook export and will greatly aid that matching as you then import the grades into your system. So let's flip over to the CompuScholar system and take a look at how to do this. All right, I'm logged in with my teacher account here at learning.compuscholar.com, and if we click on My Logins, you can see I have a couple of different test students here. So I can select the first student, click Manage User, and here you can change, of course, the student's username, password, and that sort of thing. But there's also a field here for the SIS ID number. So this is just kind of a free-form entry field where you can enter any data or any sort of unique ID that you get from your SIS that matches your student. So these can be in any format. I'll just put a placeholder number there for the student, scroll down and hit Save. And then we'll do the same thing for the other student. Just put a different ID in there for that student and save. And we're all set. So obviously this is a very quick process for small numbers of students. If you have to do more than a couple of classrooms full, so if you've got 50 to 250 students, this might become a bit cumbersome. So you're always welcome to communicate with us and see if you can get us a spreadsheet with those secure student IDs, and then we can do this sort of bulk update for you in the background. But if you just have a reasonable number of students, then it's pretty easy to do yourself right here through the user interface. So once that one-time setup step is done, you can then export the CompuScholar Gradebook anytime you need to. So sometimes teachers will export maybe once a week to bring out any grades that have been accumulated for that week, or you might do it on a more frequent or a less frequent basis. That just depends on your desires. And then the output of this process obviously is a spreadsheet, and then we'll show you how to modify that spreadsheet for your student information system. All right, back in my sample course, I'll click on View Gradebook, and then export. And we'll scroll down and just select the Chapter 1 quiz as an example. We'll leave it as an Excel spreadsheet and then download these items. All right, we're looking at the spreadsheet that was output from the gradebook. And let me just expand the columns here a little bit so things are a bit easier to read. Now there's a couple of important things you'll want to note. There are actually two different columns that have numbers that are of interest. The first is this ID number column. This ID number column you might think would be a student information system number that matches back into your system, but that's actually not the case. CompuScholar uses this ID number field internally to support single sign-on for Clever and ClassLink. So if you are a Clever and ClassLink auto-roster single sign-on customer, then you'll see some fairly mysterious numbers in this column, but those do not necessarily match your student information system student IDs. So the student IDs are listed here in the institution field, so we'll actually go ahead and just delete this ID number column, kind of get it out of your thought process, and then you'll want to focus on the institution. So you can see that the ID numbers here that we entered for each of the students are visible here in the spreadsheet. There's also a column for the name of the particular graded item that we exported. This is a timestamp, and you can probably ignore that, so let's just delete it. And then their scores are here in this column. All right, so this is kind of a basic spreadsheet that gets exported from our gradebook. And what we'll want to do is figure out how to convert this into a format that can be imported into your student information system. So most student information systems can import this comma-separated value or some other type of spreadsheet file. And the exact format actually depends on your student information system. So we're going to review an example from a Skyward SIS, but your own SIS may well have a slightly different format that it requires. All right, so what we're looking at now is an example of a Skyward formatted CSV file. So you can see Skyward requires a first name column, a last name column, an ID number column, and a score column. And then you would import this directly into a particular graded item in the Skyward SIS. And then the ID numbers for the students are here, and the scores for the grade are here. So let's compare this spreadsheet to the one that's exported from our system. You can see the first name and last name columns are already correct. And what we'll want to do is start making other modifications to our exported spreadsheet so that the format matches the format that's expected by Skyward. So we'll change the institution column to read ID number. And we'll change the name to score. And we'll delete these other fields that aren't necessary. All right, so now you can see that our exported spreadsheet matches this template that we have set up for Skyward. And again, this spreadsheet on the left is just an example of how this particular SIS wants the information to be formatted. And so what we've done is taken the export from our gradebook and then formatted it very quickly so that it matches what is expected for import. And naturally, you can do File, Save As, and change it to a CSV as well. So I've done this in Excel, Microsoft Excel. You can do this in Google Sheets online as well. So you would just take the spreadsheet that's exported from our system and move it up into Google Docs online if that's the system that you prefer to use instead, or any other piece of software that's capable of manipulating spreadsheets. So what you'll find as you do this on a regular basis is that the changes that you need to make to your exported spreadsheet become very quickly second nature, and you just click through in a few seconds and you make the modifications that you need, and then you'll have a spreadsheet that's ready to import into your student information system. Now the last step naturally is the import itself. So that import process is a little bit different for every student information system, so there's not something that we can show you that would make a lot of sense for your SIS. We do encourage you to check out the documentation for your student information system, whether it's Skyward or PowerSchool or any other sort of system that's out there. And we would love to help if you feel like you're stuck. So if you have a particular SIS and you just can't seem to make any headway on getting your grades imported or figuring out the CSV format that you need to create in order to do that import, we'd love to help. So just contact your customer service representative, contact myself, and give us the name of your SIS, and we'll help point you in the right direction. As always, we appreciate your time. If you have any questions, you're welcome to contact us by phone, through our website, or you can email me directly. Have a great day.